and welcome to Summer Sports Night. I'm Joe Young.
And I'm Howie Shapiro. And a second Joe Summer Sports Night we're able to do here in this summer of 2019. Always fun.
At least 4 new varsity coaches at the high school level this season. We had a chance to meet a couple in the last show. We're going to meet a couple more this week, and we're also going to try and get a state of the activities department with Activities Director Tom Develice as well. But let's start with new girls basketball coach Tom Wico. Coach, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
First of all, obviously you've been with the program a while. What do you look forward to stepping into that head coaching role?
Well, I think Deb Peterson, former coach, did a great job of getting the program going in the right direction. And my goal is to just continue moving it forward, and I think that's it's going to be a fun ride this year with the kids we have coming back. So we'll see how far we can go.
Well, obviously the girls are familiar with your being in the program for as long as you have. Talk about maybe some of the subtle changes that you think you might implement into the season for next year.
I think one of the biggest things that we're going to try to do is play a little bit faster, get up and down the floor, both on offense and defense. And the girls have had a little introduction to that over the summer. So we'll keep pushing and learning, and they're gonna be ready for it when the time comes.
Now, you've got your hands in coaching a lot of different things. You coach some girls volleyball, you coach some boys volleyball. You're obviously going to be taking over the program here. What kind of, constants are there when it comes to coaching kids at this level in this age?
I think one, you have to just make sure you're giving them your full attention when you're there. I think they want to learn, they want to get better, and my job as the coach is to make sure that that's happening. I want to give them as much time as I can, and with coaching 2 sports, trying to divide up your time in the summer is not always easy. Getting them involved in tournaments and summer leagues and things like that can make it tough, and then having a good wife to support you is always a positive.
You touched a couple of times on the progress over the summer. Talk a little bit about what the girls have been doing over the summer, and also talk about depth in terms of have you been getting opportunities from other girls wanting to join the program? Obviously numbers are very important.
Yeah, we've as far as the summer goes. We had open gym, 3 times a week, and girls that could come would come. We also were in the Concordia St. Paul Summer League on Wednesday nights, and that was good for us. We got to play against some good teams, and we had a good showing in that. And then we also played in a couple of breakdown tournaments. Just one last Wednesday was the last one that we did in Stillwater.
Obviously, you knew a lot of the girls coming in. Any surprises throughout those tournaments, girls that have really come further than you expected since the winter season?
I think that as far as our bigs go, I think they've made a lot of improvement as far as their outside game, being able to shoot the 3, which is something that we've talked about, and everybody's going to do that, and we're not going to hold back. If they are open, they have a green light to do that. And then some of the guard play, we had some injuries, and kids had been hurt, and so we were able to get them back towards the end, and so they were more than ready to get back to working hard, and the guards are understanding kind of what we want to do, and trying to get to that point where they feel comfortable doing that.
Looking at the program now, what do you think your biggest challenge will be for the year coming ahead?
I think, because we're still going to be young, mostly juniors and sophomores still playing, I think consistency and being able to manage those times when things aren't going well and just keep those to a minimum are going to be super key for us this year.
Well, and I think we talk about it a lot with just about every program at Coon Rapids is developing the winning culture. Yeah. Now, the program 2 years ago found some success, a little bit more success than they'd had in the past, but you graduated a great group. Now, last year's group didn't achieve that, but you didn't see those girls getting down on themselves or giving up at any time, and that's really important. How do you continue to get that culture of success and that commitment to continue to strive to improve?
Well, I think one, you got to challenge them. You have to show them where you think they can go, and then give them opportunities to progress in that direction. And I think over the summer we've had some good opportunities for the kids to do that. Giving them instruction, individual instruction, and then putting them in a team situation. Did it always work out the way you want it? No, but we're moving in the direction that we want to be going.
Always important to the people that you surround yourself with, and have being around the program as much as Joe and I have. We found, especially the coaching staff from this past few years, you feel real tight, a lot of chemistry on. Talk a little bit or touch on your coaching staff coming in. Any holdovers from the previous coaching staff, or is it all new people that you're bringing in?
The one holdover is going to be Jason Lindquist, who coached the B squad, did a great job last year. He's coming back. Otherwise, it's going to be a big turnover. And the coaches that I have coming in have played college ball. They've coached at the high school level before, one at the college level, and so I think the knowledge that they're going to bring and the excitement that they have already just in talking to them about what can happen is going to be fun to watch.
Now, obviously, it's not as big a change as we've been talking about when you've been in the program, but when it was announced, what kind of feedback did you get from players, families about what they'd like to be the next step in the program?
As far as the families go, I didn't hear a lot from the families. The boosters, I heard a little from them, but a lot of the kids, I think the kids were excited when they heard about how I wanted us to play and what it's going to take to get there. And I think they were excited about the challenge that was going to be in front of them.
Well, I think we're very excited to have you because we already know you already have a little bit of a relationship, and we definitely look forward to working with you throughout the year and hopefully into the future. I want to thank you for joining us, and we look forward to the winter season.
Thanks a lot. It's my pleasure.
All right, we'll take a very short break. We'll be back with new boys head hockey coach Aaron Frock right after this on CTN.
Roll over. Chance high five. All right.
When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique.
And your mother and... I am totally a hot person. Right, guys? Thanks for being honest.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org.
Welcome back to Sports Night. I'm Joe Yund along with Howie Shapiro. A summer edition, and we're meeting some of the new coaches for the Coon Rapids Athletic Department. And we're joined now by new boys hockey coach Aaron Frock. Coach, thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
First of all, tell me what was the interview process like, and what was your reaction when you got the job?
So interview process was basically a board, involved boosters, parents, youth, AD, principal, and then players as well, mostly captains and seniors. Going through that, basically you put up a presentation on why you wanted to be here, what you thought a good program was consistent of, and what you wanted to change in the program, and why Coon Rapids.
Well, when you're done with the show, you can tell if it's really been an honor to be here after that. But if you've watched our broadcast before, I don't know if you have, you may have, you know that I'm not the greatest hockey mind. But I've been very fortunate to be friends for a very long time with not only, I think, the best high school hockey mind in the state, but maybe the best hockey mind in the state, Lou Nanny. And no, Joe, it's Joe, yeah, and I've learned a lot for hockey. He always talks about systems, and talk a little bit about your systems coming into this program, because this is a program that I think is looking for success, and talk about a little bit of what you bring.
And biggest thing, we want to start with culture, right? We talk about that championship culture. We want to start buying into that team. I want the community at Coon Rapids to start getting excited about hockey. It's the state of hockey. I want the community to be a hockey community. Now, with systems and what we talk about, we're going to run a lot of different systems. We're going to start defensively. We want to be strong. We want to protect our net. We know in the past couple of seasons, the goaltender has been overworked. We've done a lot of running around in our own zone. I feel we need to work from our net and out. I want us to be very strong defensively. We're going to have a couple of different systems that we'll put into place that will work from there. And then again, we'll work out to neutral zone and then into that offensive zone as well. We want to also be able to be interchangeable when it comes to systems. I want to be able to adapt to other teams and their systems. Similar to like Bill Belichick, right? He's going to take away what you do best. I want to do the same, and then I want to be able to exploit what we do best. And then I always want to be able to change so people never know what's going to happen.
I was very excited. I was there for the parent meeting when you were introduced to the team. I really enjoyed what you had to say, but one of the things, and you touched on it, we talked with Tom about it as well, is culture. And getting these guys to take responsibility, not go out there and just put the jersey on just to play, but to go out there to compete. How do you drive that home and get those guys to play that way?
It all starts with, when you put that jersey on, you're representing more than yourself, your team, the program. It's a community. I grew up in Delano, which is a really small community out west. When you put that uniform on, you're representing families, businesses, your families, your friends. You got to take responsibility in what you're putting on, what you represent. Biggest thing creating that culture, it starts with work and attitude. I think we have laxed on our work ethic, and the attitude was, we're just going to show up and play. I want us to compete every night. Again, every time that you compete, hockey's a game of controlled chaos. If you can outwork somebody and have a greater will, I think you can start having success. You don't always have to be the most talented team on the ice, because if you have the best will and work ethic, you can win a lot of games and be successful. And again, when I talk about wins are doing the little things. I'm not a win-driven guy. It's if we start doing the little things in the way that we come to the rink every day. We always talk about work ethic, and that's being a line-to-line team. It's not quitting in one zone. It's you're going to work at all areas of the ice, and starting with that. And then again, it's how you treat your teammates, creating an internal competition amongst your own team, fighting for spots and fighting for position, and that's what's going to help drive again that winning and championship culture.
I think one of the toughest things for a new coach is winning over the athletes, and talk a little bit about, you obviously met with the guys, talk about the reception that they gave to you and the kind of feedback you're hearing back from your players.
I've heard a lot of excitement. I've actually coached a lot of these kids when they were 12 years old as peewees, which has been a lot of fun. So the senior and junior group, I know a lot of them, and as well as being involved with the program the last couple of years too. I've heard a lot of excitement. The biggest thing was, I love what you have to say, and we'll see if he follows through. I'm a man of my word when we'll get work out of him, and we'll find ways that we're going to compete, because again, we're going to represent Coon Rapids the best possible way.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, because obviously you're not going to have the numbers that the Blaines and the Centennials and the Maple Groves have. In that is going to be maybe a little higher end talent as well. But when you talk about the effort beating talent, it's just getting those guys to really buy into it. And it seems like such a worn out analogy, but you go back to the Miracle on Ice. That was a team that was made up of guys that were not as talented as the Russians were. It's certainly not been playing together as long as the Russians had, but by working and outworking them, they came out as champions, and it's a matter of getting them to buy into that. And I wish you the best in that. I want to see that happen. I can't even tell you how much I want to see that happen, because I truly believe that Coon Rapids has the quality if they play right.
Yep.
But you can't with a team that is lower on the talent level, you can't slack on the work. You have to be the hardest working team.
And that's the biggest thing too, and I think we'll surprise a lot of people again when we raise our work ethic. And again, like, the talent and raw materials are there, we just have never put them, in the best position to succeed. And we also look at big name teams and we see, Blaine on the jersey, and it was like, all right, let's just pack it in for the night. No, we're going to compete. We're going to go out and we're going to go outwork teams. And again, most of those teams rely on their talent. They don't change very often. So we'll be adaptive and make them adapt to us. And I think it's going to be a new mindset. It will take a little bit, because these athletes are going to understand how passionate I am about this sport and playing it the right way. I feel teams take on the personality of their coach. We'll be cool, calm, and collected, and we will be very well prepared for every team that we're going to play.
When you look back at your first season afterwards, kind of fill in the blank for me. Our season was successful because?
Our season's going to be successful because we're going to create conversation about hockey in a positive manner. Our seniors are going to look back and go, I was a pioneer at this program. I was there at the change. I was there at the turn. It's always great to look back and be like, yep, I was there right when we turned around. I want these kids to go to college, further in life, in their professional lives, and go, I played at Coon Rapids, and never have to apologize for it. I want them to be proud of where they're from and being a Cardinal, and I want that pride to be there.
Well, and another thing, you talked about it at the parent and player meeting, is reinvigorating the interest at the youth level. How do you do that to sustain the numbers and to keep kids from playing Coon Rapids through youth and then going off?
You look at other communities that do a great job of it, like Elk River. They do a fantastic job of getting their varsity kids involved at the lowest level of mites that learn to skate. They're out there in that uniform. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to get these kids involved at the youngest level. We want this to be something for our mites and our learn to skate athletes to look up to that program and to look up at these kids and kind of idolize them. The biggest thing is we got to make sure that they're idolizing the right stuff, right? So, and that's putting a good product out there. And having them involved and making sure that, we have student coaches, that they're involved with them, and just being out and being seen and supporting also youth games, having them out at Bantam games and Pee Wee games and Squirt games. It's nothing better than having those kids look up and they're like, hey, there's all those high school players, and they love it, and then they'll go and perform, and then we want to get them involved in our games as well.
What's your biggest challenge, do you think?
Biggest challenge is going to be change. And again, this will be my first experience at a head coach at the high school level. I feel that's going to be the biggest challenge, because I think right away it'll be critiqued, which is just fine. Being a head coach is never a favorable position, because everyone can always do it better. I want to show everyone that passion-wise, and that we'll be prepared as well, and the passion of hockey will be there.
Well, I will certainly do my best not to be too critical and be the armchair quarterback or hockey coach, as it were. But we're glad to have you. Very excited to see what happens with the program. Of course, I'm obviously very vested in it, not only as just being very passionate about the sport, but also having a son who plays. So I'm looking forward to having you. Glad you could make it here with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right, thanks so much, and good luck. We're going to take another short break. Be back with Activities Director Tom Develice right after this on Sportsnight. Welcome back to this summer edition of Sports Night, along with Howie Shapiro. I'm Joe Yund. We're joined now by Activities Director Tom Develice. Tom, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you.
First, after just 1 year in the job, a lot of work that had to be done. A lot of new hires. Talk about the process of bringing on so many new coaches in the off season.
Yeah, I think part of it that I've told to the coaches is one of the things that we did in October was I really sat down and put together expectations of our programs. And so I have a 2.5-page document that has 10 different bullet points to it. It covers everything from having a mission and a vision of your program to associations with our youth teams, to our, your booster club, to preseason parent meetings, preseason coaches meetings, and then just the big picture of like, what is our goal? What is our purpose of working with student athletes? And that's to make sure that, we're centered around them and giving them a reason to be involved and be a part of our school culture at Coon Rapids High School.
Obviously hiring some new coaches, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go on, but especially let's talk about the football coach. You have a football background. What do you look for when you're looking for that quality candidate to become the new football coach here at Coon Rapids?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is going to be communication.
Yep.
You have to be, organized with that. Parents want to know what's going on. We live in a society that everything is instant. They have their cell phones out, they have their calendars, they have everything that they need to know answers to, and so that to me is one of the biggest things. I think the other thing again is coming back to be student centered. They have to have an idea that wins and losses, you can't control them. We talk all the time about hard work. We talk all the time about attitude and effort. And so when you're looking at those two things, if we put in place coaches that are willing to put forth the attitude and the effort to kids, getting the kids to buy into that, you let the wins and losses take care of themselves and just make it a great experience.
Yeah, and we've had the opportunity to introduce the 4 new head coaches to the community, and all say relatively similar things as far as what their goals are and kind of the things. But one thing that struck me was how many of the coaches brought up the commitment to school, but also the commitment to bringing the kids up from a younger level, getting involved with the youth level to make it an easier transition, and hopefully keep more kids being active in those activities through high school.
Yeah, I mean, you look at stats, and being a former math teacher, statistics are kind of a big deal to me. But you look at it and you look at success kids have in school academically if they're involved in things. And one reason is because you have coaches who talk about it, and they talk about being student first, athlete second. The other reason is they're somewhere after school. They're with coaches after school. They're with good role models. They're learning how to work hard. They're not sitting around the community making bad decisions. They're not hanging around with people that are making bad decisions. And so that's one of our biggest things is getting kids a reason to be involved, to make sure that we are teaching them about the great decisions later on. And then again, as they become adults, they have that work ethic built into them, and they understand what it means to put the values and the needs of other people before your own, and you grow up to be, I think, a pretty good human being at that point.
You're in year 2 now, so talk a little bit about that first year and some of the things that you learned and some of the things that you're taking into year 2 that maybe these are some good things and these are some things that may I do a little differently.
I don't know if we have enough time to talk about things I learned. It was a lot. The other ADs, the 5 high schools a part of the Anoka Hennepin, those other 4 ADs, I mean, they've been a lifeline to me this last year. I mean, I've emailed them, called them daily, multiple times, asking questions. And so, it was a lot of learning, and it was a lot of things that I think, as being a head coach before in a pretty big program, I think it helped with my own organization and my own communication skills. But I mean, there's a lot of things that you just don't think of that happen and that you have to address. And I think coming into year 2, one of the things that we talked about, we had a preseason coaches meeting in the near the end of July. We talked about championship culture, and that to me is really important, is having that culture within our building that we want to make sure kids understand that just because we're from Coon Rapids, we don't have to have different expectations. Don't listen to the people who say that things are different because you're from Coon Rapids. I think we have just as big of a shot as anyone else out there. But if we as coaches aren't selling that to our kids, and we as coaches aren't preaching that, well, then we're underselling our kids and we're not doing the job we're supposed to be doing. And so our focus this year is really going to be on that. It's pretty cool. We redecorated our 2 locker rooms. We just got done hanging up probably about 40 signs that are going in the locker rooms and right outside the locker rooms, and a lot of them have motivational sayings. Talks about Cardinal Nation, talks about competing and being a winner. And I want the kids to see that constantly, and I want the coaches to see that on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point, because we have talked over the years. Obviously, we've been around for a while, longer than we care to admit. But we've seen programs where early on they get down big and the shoulders sink and the heads drop and then it just gets away from them. And we've also seen programs that while they're behind by huge amounts, they're still battling all the way to the end. I think that sounds like a good step, but how do you really get into getting them buy into that championship culture? That's going to be key.
Yeah, and some of the coaches that have been around Coon Rapids for a real long time, they talk about mental toughness and just that exactly of seeing kids sink their shoulders and put their heads down. And one of the things we talked about is putting our kids into situations in practice, competing, putting them into mental toughness situations, so that way the first time they see it is not out on the ice or out on a field or on a court. They're going to see it before in practice, and then part of us as coaches are more teaching kids now how to respond than we ever used to. There's a lot of life skills our kids don't come into high school athletics knowing anymore, and so we're teaching them that just as much as we am any activity.
One of the things that certainly I've always looked at is that maybe not get the amount of athletes out for all different programs that you would like, especially at the school the size of Coon Rapids. I noticed that there's been a good upspurt in the summer program here in terms of the weight room. What have you seen from year one now to year two in terms of attendance and how the athletes are taking to working out and being serious about it during the off months?
Yeah, last summer there was 97 kids signed up. This summer we had 255.
Wow.
So it's a huge shift, and part of it is the coaches, that are running it. JT Taylor, who's in there, really bought into the program that he wants to put in, really believes in it and has a lot of passion for it. We have other coaches, a lot of our newer coaches that you're talking about. I mean, one of the big things that I said in my expectation is that we're strength training. We can't go in and compete with teams if we're weaker than them. And it doesn't matter what that activity is. And so, a lot of the coaches told their athletes that an expectation is to be a part of that program. We also offered multiple times. So we have sessions that start at 7, go all the way till noon, and they're all broken up to different pieces. I mean, our competition cheer team had over 35 kids in it on Tuesdays and Thursday nights. So, it's funny because when you hear from other people, whether it is in the community or other schools coaches, and saying, well, you know what, we just don't have time to lift. I mean, to go from 97 to 255, it's there. It's just if you're going to put an emphasis on it or not.
All right. Well, that's fantastic to hear. I'm glad you could join us. We're really excited, as always, to get another school year underway. So thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
And that is going to do it for this edition of Sports Night. We will have the preview by the end of August. We've got sports on the horizon already. We start with our first fall broadcast is volleyball on the 22nd, so definitely stay tuned because we will be around. But as always, we want to thank everybody out there for joining us, continuing to support everything we do here at CTN. For the entire crew, including Howie Shapiro, I'm Joe Young.